Welcome to Under Pressure, the podcast about becoming better men when it counts. I'm Cody Laughlin.
And I'm Brian Alfaro. Each week, we have honest conversations about building businesses, leading families, carrying responsibility, and the pressure that comes with trying to do all of it well. If that sounds like your world, you're in the right place.
No hype, no pretending we've got it all figured out, just real stories, real struggles, and what we're learning along the way. Let's get into it.
Cheers, guys. Welcome back.
Nice to be back behind the mic. It's been a few weeks, and we were just talking before the show. This is our second time recording this particular interview. Technology, it's great when it works, but
really, the interview was so great, we had to do it again.
You know,
that's really what it is.
Exactly right.
Yep.
Exactly right.
Couldn't get enough of it.
It was so good, the world didn't want us to get it out. So,
right.
Well, welcome back, I should say, to the show. Second time's, it's not going to be a third time, hopefully, but second time's charm.
Like I said, y'all must like something, so maybe there is a third time.
It's great to be back here at Captiv, and we've got the owner, one of the owner and founders here at Captiv, Mr. Khary. So I want to say welcome to the show.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. Tell us, a lot of people probably don't know a lot about Captiv. And then obviously, the audience probably doesn't know a lot about you. Tell us a little bit about your background, growing up personally, coming out of school, what you did there. And then now you're running a company, a media production company that has all kinds of amazing stuff going on, providing a lot of value to the city of Houston. Tell us how you got from A to B and your journey along the way.
Yeah. So let me start with B, what we've actually built and where we're sitting at today. I'm really paint the picture of Captiv and the Captiv verse, as I like to say sometimes. So Captiv Studios, we're Houston's largest production studio, and we really built the studio for the infrastructure that is needed to really, allow the creatives here in Houston to do whatever they want without limitations. A lot of times we ran into limitations when we were at other venues and locations. And we figured, hey, if other people are having these issues, we know that there's a need and a demand for this. Texas has really invested a lot in production and creating content going into the future. And if we don't start investing in more infrastructure, Houston's going to get passed up as a destination for these major productions. So we're all about community. We're all about, really providing the resources and tools for people to use to create what they need to create. And then on the other side of that is Captiv Creative, which is the production company that had that need for the space. And we've been doing this for 13 years now. And really, we see ourselves as strategic partners for brands, organizations, agencies when it comes to content creation. We really like to ingrain ourselves in these different brands and businesses and really understand what their needs are and how we can solve it through visual storytelling. That's it in a nutshell. And if we really want to go back to how it all started, really it started with me meeting Justin, my business partner now. And I was working in a technology as a software developer for oil and gas. And basically I was programming drones to go out and, into oil fields. And then I met Justin. He was flying drones for video production and really just nerded out. It was for oil and gas, of course. And as we know now to date, as I'm talking, oil and gas can be very volatile.
Sure.
So I got laid off. And I was like, hey, I can either keep doing what I'm doing, or I can go down this path of even more technology and creativity and see where it goes. And really, I decided to jump off the cliff. Of course, I had a business partner, Justin, and we really started focusing on how we can grow this business and really how we can add value. I always tell people we started doing Google virtual tours. So basically the virtual tours of businesses and then posting them on Google. We would go to like a retail shop, a retail center and do it for one business. And we had a thing where we couldn't leave that retail shop until we hit up every single business and be like, hey, this is who we are. This is what we do. Have our equipment. We could do something for you now. And we might even give you a discount. Hey, you don't want your neighbor to have better content than you. This is something that you need.
Right.
This is something that it could really bring visibility to your business. And then also the photos and the videos that can also support that as well. Really worked well with brick and mortar locations, especially restaurants, because people purchase what they see. If they see some food looking good, they're going to go to that restaurant. So, we just are coming up in a world of where content is king. And I would even say even more so today. And then just through the years, just always thinking of how we can offer value to people through visual storytelling.
That's amazing. I want to go back and talk about a couple of things that I think are really important in what you're doing and adding value to the community, because you just said something really important. And Gary Vee says this, and I've heard it from other people as well. He says that the most valuable currency in today's world is other people's attention. People think about money and different things like that. And of course, everyone likes money. But at the end of the day, the thing that's most valuable is getting somebody's attention. And the number one way to do that without debate is through media, through content creation right now. Social media started off as being a place where people socialized. You think about Facebook back when you and I probably joined, where it was like invite only. Somebody had to invite you, right? Kind of dating ourselves here a little bit, but it was a place to socialize.
I remember MySpace.
MySpace. I remember MySpace. I used to write HTML code.
You remember this thing called Zanga?
I remember that too.
Yeah, I thought I was the coolest person. Or even AIM.
I remember AIM.
Yeah.
Yep. Little.
So if we're dating ourselves, we might as well date ourselves.
Yeah. Right. But that social media was very different back then. You were actually socializing, and these platforms, they didn't have advertisements. This was before Meta was like the king of advertising, right? And things have transitioned to where social media is more like attention media. People have replaced 30 years ago, we used to watch a lot of TV, right? People have replaced their TV now with their tablet or their phone, consuming short form content. So the value that Captiv is providing, your company is providing to small businesses is, I think, more valuable than people realize, because a lot of businesses still don't know how valuable and how much how much pressure can really come and weight can come from that type of content creation. And the reality is, and I know when we started our first podcast, it was a huge learning curve. The reality is you don't know how to do it either, and how to do it well.
Yeah,
right?
and consistently.
And consistently do it well, make sure it looks good, because there's so much noise out there with social media, and there's so much content out there that it's hard to differentiate yourself. Right? So the value that your team is providing, I think, is phenomenal. It seems like you guys were a little bit ahead of the curve. 13 years. So we're in 2026. So that's 2013. Social media was still a thing. All these platforms were still a thing. But back then, Instagram was probably still in its growing phase. TikTok was not around yet.
Yeah.
YouTube Shorts weren't around yet, or were just coming around. So people were consuming a lot of long form content, a lot of imagery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the main things we were creating was website videos. That was a big thing. Content for the Google, My Business, and then broadcast, 30-second, 15-second style commercials.
Yep. Yeah. So I think that's tremendous what you guys are doing for the community, and kudos for you guys. I think you're in a great niche, a great space to be, providing that type of value for the community. The other thing I think I want to talk about from the point you made earlier was the entrepreneurial leap you took. I think it's really interesting how sometimes something that seems like a bad thing in life, nobody likes getting fired from their job.
Yeah.
Right? You probably in that moment were like, crap.
Yeah, honestly, I wasn't. Really, when in that time of my life, I was single, no kids.
Okay.
I was 22, maybe 23, 22, and I had the ability and the flexibility to, and I was already building business while I was.
So you had something
working.
going already.
Yeah, I had something going, so it had some momentum already.
It's more of a sign.
Yeah, it was more of a sign.
Yeah,
more than
Now what?
It was like a natural transition.
It wasn't like a now what moment.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, well, I already have this thing going.
Yeah.
It's a sign that I should keep doing this.
Yeah. And I was like, hey, let me keep doing this. And if it wasn't a moment where I was like, I have to follow my dreams. I was like, hey, I'm making money doing this. I'm making enough money to still support myself. Let me keep seeing where it goes. And if I do need to get another job, I need to get another job. But I guess 13 years later, that didn't happen.
Hey, it's paying off for you.
Yeah. So, and that's how it went. So,
yeah, I think that's a good point there, that there's always a job to be found. A lot of people that are going through the thought processes, and we have a lot of friends and family in our network that start a side hustle, or thinking about starting a side hustle, or even friends that have been talking about starting a side hustle for 10 years or something. It's just like, man, just go do it.
Go do it.
Yeah. You don't really know what the market wants and if it's going to be successful until you actually go out there and do it. And then when you start doing it and you start making money from it, you're like, oh, this actually can be a thing, right? And we've talked about this before. I know Cody and I privately, but I think people think jobs are super safe. And I actually think that they're the opposite. They're arguably, just as risky, if not more risky than being an entrepreneur, because at the end of the day, you're not in control of your destiny. You could get, as you mentioned, you can make a ton of money in oil and gas, and there's a lot of great industries like that, but you can also, they snap their fingers and, you're not needed anymore. It was under $70 a barrel or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of risk in that as well. And of course, what you're doing now has a lot of risk, but at least you're in control.
And it's a lot more stress. There's a trade-off in everything.
Right.
Yes, you will have a lot more pressure, a lot more stress on yourself being a business owner. But at the same time, yes, you are a lot more in control of your destiny and the security of your job. Sometimes, you always do have to work for your clients as well.
Sure.
And for the economy too, depending on the needs of people and technology, maybe technology has changed. But yes, I wholeheartedly agree with you that there's you don't have a job where another person can really make that final decision on if you're going to have that job or not.
Let's talk a little bit about those stresses, right? You mentioned something just a minute ago about the stress that comes with being an entrepreneur. And, Cody and I have done a lot of real estate ventures and felt a lot of those stresses as well. And we've got, a lot of stories we can talk about. But what are some things that you're comfortable sharing with the audience of some journeys you had maybe early on and the stresses and how you navigated that, and then maybe some challenges you're dealing with today?
Yeah, I think a lot of stresses come down to cash flow.
Yep.
Making sure that you have enough money to pay your bills coming in and that you're saving enough money if something does happen, especially in a industry where you might work on one major big project and then nothing might come for a little bit. So making sure you're managing your money and your cash flow correctly, really understanding how to set up your business model where you can predict your cash flow. And I think that's one big thing that we've been pushing moving forward is, getting retainer-based clients, recurring projects, and not just to make it as like some sales pitch that's not going to actually help a client. In today's day, I truly believe the way to be consistent, especially with content, is to get on a retainer model where we're able to help you on a monthly basis and you can really see the momentum build. But to answer your question, one of the biggest stressors is cash flow.
Sounds familiar, right, Cody?
Yeah,
Yes.
we've been there, unfortunately, too often.
Making sure you can pay your rent, and if you have a team, making sure you can pay your team, that payroll comes out of your bank account twice a month, and making sure that there's the cash in there to make sure that payroll hits. So it's a never ending stressor.
Yep.
Yeah. There's a fine balance in growing your business. There comes a point in time where you need to make an investment back in the business to help it grow. I think last time we talked about you guys moving into this space and the big commitment that was, while still balancing, like you said, the stressors of cash flow and things like that. Can you talk a little bit about how do you balance that as a business owner between recognizing the need to preserve the business and protect the business, but also grow the business and reinvest it so that way your future growth is sustainable?
Yeah, so I've never been a type of person that splurges, but I have been we have been from a company standpoint, spent my money on things that maybe we could have waited for. And then after going through those lessons where you do run into those cash flow issues, you realize like, hey, I could have been a little bit more reserved with what I'm spending my money
Especially
on.
on expensive equipment like this.
Especially on expensive equipment. And hindsight, 2020 vision. But it is a balance. It is a balance. So really what we like to do is, I'll give an example, expensive equipment. Let's rent it a certain number of times from someone else, make a markup on it, and pass that cost on to our client before we go out and actually buy it.
Right.
Just really testing to see how viable an investment is, because even investing back in your business, it's an investment. So that's cash that you won't have in the bank for reserves. Even though it is making your business, it is adding value to your business. That value doesn't come instantly. So really being conscious of those moves. And yes, I would say you have to put yourself in certain situations to really understand what that decision might cause.
Has there ever been any times in the growth of Captiv, whether it be making that big investment, that big expenditure, or whatnot, maybe you've had some cash flow constraints. Has there ever been a time in the business where you're like, man, like this is starting to feel a little uneasy?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. It's making this transition to, we have a 15,000 square foot facility. I mean, I'll be honest, rent is $15,000 a month. So being able to, pay that on a monthly basis and manage all the other expenses that we have going on, it definitely puts you in a tight place, especially when you're the first one in a market that isn't used to the type of facility that you have. What's some of the technology that we have? What's the technology was an investment in itself. A lot of times people or get comfortable doing stuff a certain way, and then it's almost taking a chance on it doing it a different way. Even though you might see the vision on how it can increase their productivity, the value that they're receiving, it's really an educational experience. Like, hey, guys, this is the facility. This is what it can offer you. This is how you use it. And this is how we've found some success in it. So being able to demonstrate that to get people to understand, oh, yes, next time I have a project, I'm going to go do it at Captiv, has been the biggest challenge and the biggest thing that we kind of need to do to make sure that this is a successful venture.
I think that's something that a lot of people, when they start a new business, I would argue a lot of people that starting something fresh don't have a business background. You came from a corporate career. A lot
Mhm.
of other people come from a corporate career. And usually the motivation behind starting a side hustle or a new business is driven by time control, freedom, money, whatever the case. But there's a motivating factor, and they make a commitment to start this business, but they don't have that business background. So a lot of trial by fire. There's a lot of bumps and bruises, I'm sure you learned along the way,
Yeah.
that have allowed you to develop that strategic skill, mindset of, okay, when's the right time to make that investment or that next step? But it's not easy for everybody making that transition. As a corporate career employee, you're used to kind of being following the system and,
Yeah.
just kind of being, I hate to say pawn of the system, so to speak, but
Yeah.
you're a piece in the puzzle versus now you're the one that's controlling everything.
Yeah, and a lot of times, especially if you work for a large corporation, there's safety nets too.
Yep.
Like you don't necessarily have to pay attention to certain budgets that you might have to pay attention to when you're, a relatively small business. Now, when you're in work for a big business, like you said, I think if you look at Oracle, they just maybe laid off how many people? Maybe 30,000
A lot.
people. A lot. Yeah.
Big
So
number.
again, you're like a pawn in their system that when they look at their numbers, they're like, oh, we could cut 30,000 jobs. And there goes your job. So now who knows where those jobs were and what they were doing. So sometimes people just look at numbers and it just doesn't tell the whole story.
That's a lot of interesting points here. I'm kind of curious if I don't want to use the word regrets, but looking back, if you went back 14 years to the year you were about to start this business, what are some lessons you would say you've learned, or maybe what are some things you would tell 14-year younger you about maybe landmines to avoid or things
Yeah.
to do, things not to do, things to be careful of? What are some things you would tell yourself?
Yeah. I truly think patience is a virtue. I think that even getting into this building, I love if our landlord's watching this, property managers watching this, we actually have some great property managers and they definitely allow us to do things really that's going to help our business out. But I do think that there's always maybe a better deal out there. And we're the type of people, especially Justin and myself, we're like, we're gonna make this happen no matter what. Sometimes we might rush something.
Mm.
We might say like, okay, we've been looking for a year and a half now for a building. We're gonna get this building and we're gonna make it work. And maybe if you wait, maybe a month later, you can get even a better deal,
Right.
or maybe find a partnership where you even get a building at a fraction of the cost. So I do think in having a level of patience helps out a lot. But also you have to balance that with the I'm gonna make it happen attitude under any circumstances. Yeah, just having a little bit of patience and then people. Really learn people and how to manage people and how to lead people and how to deal with people. I would say that is the biggest thing, because if you're trying to build a business, if you don't know how to lead people, you're going to limit yourself to really only yourself. You're not going to go past that. And that's why a lot of people, they might even be solo entrepreneurs because they don't want to have to deal with the politics and the different things when it comes to leading people.
There's a saying that business is easy until you involve people.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
so true, right? When you're out doing stuff on your own and managing your own business in your own time, and you have a ceiling, obviously, usually on your revenue capabilities because you can only trade so much time for money.
Yep.
But yeah, people make business complicated. They
Yeah.
also help your business grow, right?
Yeah.
So
And a lot of times the issues are never really related to business when it comes to people. It's, yeah, it's personalities.
Yep. Personality, especially in the creative space, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Of two really talented people that have a portfolio or a track record of doing a phenomenal job at whatever it is that they do. And for some reason or another, they just, when they're in the same room, they
Yeah.
just can't get along.
Exactly. Yes, it's happened. Nah, it happens all the time. And I like to even foresee some of these things. Sometimes I'm even less conscious of or less worried about their portfolio and more worried about how will they fit into this overall project
Right.
with the people that might already be in on it.
Sure.
Because I've learned that, personalities that fit together, there might be someone that might be more talented, but putting that more talented person into this bigger, larger group of people that are already teamed up and together, you won't get as good of results than if you put someone that might be a tad less talented, but
More of a team player.
more a team player
Yep.
and fits better. Hey, sometimes for the project, we have to build the team around someone that's just so talented that they're almost the only one that can get this project done. So then we think of the other side, like, okay, what personalities will fit with this person? And usually there's like a more dominant personality that can fit with some personalities that aren't as dominant.
Right.
And they're more supporting.
Yeah. So. Sounds like business 101.
Yeah.
Business 101.
And you have to be conscious of this. You can't just be like, I'm going to put together a super team with all these, 18 players with these big personalities. And then you start seeing them clash. And you're like, oh, man, well, I don't understand. Y'all are so talented if you just work together.
It's like the sports, right? If you're into basketball or football or whatever it is you do, right? Most teams have 1 to 3 mega talented people.
Yeah.
And if you start growing past that, unless somebody's willing to make huge sacrifices, which is uncommon.
Yes.
When you're talented, you're talented. You're used to getting all the pats on the back and the accolades or whatever. That's challenging for a lot of people to just like, I'm just going to take a back seat. So I understand it, completely get it.
Yeah. And a lot of my, I guess I don't want to say mentors because I don't know them personally, but the people I look up to and really look into what they say are coaches like Nick Saban.
Yep.
Oh man, I learn a lot from Nick Saban and I really dive into what he says. I mean, he is the greatest college football coach ever. And if you really follow some of his philosophies and apply it to business, you can see some success.
Right. I think the thing that I've learned about leadership, and Cody, I know you've had leadership positions too as well, is it's very different because when you're getting into a leadership position, obviously there's more at stake. If you're in a job, you're often getting paid more money. You often think it has to do with being the best at your job or even having the highest IQ.
Mm-hmm.
The smartest person in the room should be the manager or the leader or the boss or whatever, right? What you actually learn the more you get into business is it's actually more about your emotional intelligence and your ability to manage not only your emotions, but manage other people's emotions and their personalities. And that skill that I think it's called like EIQ or EI or something like that. Like that skill is actually more valuable, or that your personal EI level is actually more valuable than your IQ, because you could be the smartest person in the room. But if you don't know how to manage people and you don't know how to deliver a message and how to train and develop and coach and do all these things, you're going to have a hard time being in any type of leadership position.
Yep. No matter how smart and talented you are. So I've seen it firsthand.
Yep. Lots of smart people out there that are amazing at their jobs that just can't be in leadership positions. So
yeah,
and that's okay.
Yeah.
We all have a role in life, and we have to learn to be the best version of ourselves.
Or if that is a position that you want to be, you need to work on developing, because I do think EIQ and pretty much any kind of skill can be learned, but you have to drop your ego and say like, hey, I'm not good at this, and then go and learn what it takes to get good at it.
And that's a really good point. And this is something we talk about as men. A lot of us, and I'm talking about myself too, have an ego that sometimes is too big, and there's pride that takes over. And like you said, you have, especially as a business owner, you have that sense of like, I have to control everything. I have to be the one making every decision. And that ultimately leads to a lot of failures in your business, because you trying to have your hands in everything and control everything isn't always the best outcome. And as a leader, part of your obligation is to be able to build a team and inspire them towards a common goal or outcome, and then give them the tools and the empowerment and the support they need to grow towards that outcome. And that's, I think, a struggle that a lot of people make, is letting go of that ego and that pride and being able to be vulnerable enough to say, hey, I don't need to be the one that is the expert, but I want to have this team around me that can help me get to this common goal or outcome.
I mean, absolutely. And also, you can't ever blame anyone but yourself. Like, when you're sitting at the top, like, it is on you. One, you made the decision to hire that person. You know, you built the systems that that person is working within. You you might have not trained them as well. Every single thing that goes wrong, at least I do, I take blame for it. Like, I must have not communicated good enough. I must have not trained properly. I made a bad hire. I should have never hired this person. And so really taking ownership over are things that don't go the way they need to go.
So very timely you mentioned this, because I was just telling Brian, I recently just read or listened to the audio version of Extreme Ownership. And this is exactly the premise of the book, is you have to take complete ownership of everything that you do in life, whether it's at home as a husband, father, your job, your business. You have to take ownership. I think it's very natural as human beings that we always want to point the finger and blame at outside factors, things that we believe are outside of our control. But that doesn't help you grow. It never helps you gain those skills to be able to overcome challenges. If you don't know how to take extreme ownership, you're really limiting your potential.
Yeah. And we can even make a transition to personal. I'm recently divorced, and I would never talk bad on my ex or anything like that. And I do hear a lot of divorcees like, oh yeah, she's just the scum of the earth. She did this to me. She did that to me. But really, you got to take ownership. I mean, you're the one that chose to get married to this lady. Sure. You're the one that chose to be in a relationship with him. Really learning from, and I'm not talking about me specifically, but you made the decision to be with this person and use it as a learning lesson. Sure. Like now, when you go into your next marriage, into your next relationship, you know the things that you need to be looking for and things that are red flags. You can have red flags as well when it comes to women. I know the big thing nowadays is women's like, oh, red flag, red flag, red flag. Like, men, you need to have red flags as well.
There you go.
So,
well, you got to recognize too that you have your own character flaws that, are always going to showcase themselves in a relationship. I mean, no one's perfect. There's two sides to every story. And I think taking ownership of your own personal, qualities or things that contributed to that outcome is really important as well.
I think that message really goes well for both personal, your spouse, your partner in life, and also your partner, right? You have a partner here, Justin, who you work with here at Captiv. And it's the same for your marriage. As you get older, as you mature, a lot of people, unfortunately, they get married too young. They don't really know themselves. Or a lot of people, and it's the same for business. You might be attracted to somebody, whether it's professionally or, romantically, for something that you probably shouldn't be attracted to. It's not the main characteristic, right? Like, if you're looking for a wife or a partner or spouse, and you're 100% judging whether they're qualified to be your lifelong partner based on just how they look and nothing else beyond, oh, man, she's hot or he's hot or whatever, right? And in business, the same thing. It's like if you go find a partner and you want to be a partner with that person just because they have a lot of money, right? Or just because they have like one particular skill set. That doesn't make, on either side of the table, it doesn't make them the most qualified person. And I think it takes some scars in life and some lessons and some mistakes that you have to make along the way, both in your personal life and in your professional life, to learn what the definition of a good partner is.
And you also have to complement each other as well. So if y'all both are great at one particular thing together and y'all are building something together, there's going to be some things that aren't being taken care of because y'all aren't good at those things. And then what I've seen is people start blaming each other. Oh, why didn't you do that? Why didn't you do this? And the other person's like, well, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that?
Sure.
Neither one of y'all are good at that or even want to do that. Whether it's in business or in like marriage, like make sure that you are complimenting each other in the skills and things that you're all on the same page. Like have a pure understanding that this is what I'm going to take care of. This is what you're going to take care of. And this is what you actually want to take care of. Now, I don't want you to feel like I'm forcing you to do this, and make sure you're all on the same page about it.
You're saying you actually have to communicate?
Got to communicate. And you got to communicate even before committing.
What's funny is there's so many applicable business lessons in marriage, right? In life in general, which is funny because you don't want to treat your relationship and your spouse in a transactional manner. That's not what I'm encouraging here at all.
I mean, I think every relationship is transactional. If you get down to it, you know, even your friends, even your relationship with your friends, maybe they're not giving you anything as far as money, but like you're around your friends because you enjoy the time. That's in transaction. I spend time with you, I get enjoyment.
That's true. That's
like,
fair.
So every relationship that you're in is transactional, no matter if you want to admit it or not.
Yeah. I think the key there is understanding, why you're there and trying to get benefit on both sides.
And what the transaction is.
What the transaction.
Like, that's how you, that's how you got to think about it.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. And it kind of leads into the idea of you have to also protect the relationships that you have and the who you allow to come into your circle, right? You don't want to just open yourself to anybody that comes into your life, whether it be personally or professionally. You really have to make sure that you protect that inner circle that you have and make sure that you're surrounding yourself that has those shared values or, like you said, that equal value.
Exchange. Value
exchange.
Yeah, because if not, you're gonna be disgruntled because you feel like this person just taking, and you're just giving, and seeing nothing in return.
That's how resentment typically gets built in both partnerships or
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of life lessons, like I said, that come from business, and I think it's always amazing whether you're running your own business or you are a successful corporate employee, and learning the lessons that come along with business. Because there's just again, I think I'm a better man because of the business lessons that I've learned along the way. Years before I was an entrepreneur, I was always reading books and listening to podcasts and listening to people that were sharing business lessons, and I always found it very applicable in my personal life. Like the things we tell ourselves in business, like, take care of your people, manage your money well, put other people first, follow good leadership skills, communicate really well, have good emotional intelligence. Those are all not only business lessons, but they're good personal lessons to take home as well. And yeah, it's just kind of funny how life kind of sometimes all kind of circles back on, to business. So.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think as men, we don't always do a good job of those skills, obtaining and refining those skills. I think it's just something that we always constantly have to work at and strive to get better at because the people that are close to us deserve it. Not only do we owe it to ourselves, but we owe it to the people that we impact, the people that are most important to us, our wives, our kids, our families, our friends. And then of course, the people that we're in business relationship with. I mean, you're a business owner, you have employees that work with you, they feed off of your energy and the culture that you cultivated here. And it all comes down to those skills that you mentioned.
Yeah. And that's why self-development is like one of my number one principles. Because if I'm not developing myself as a person, then let's just talk about the business sense. Like in the team that I have, if I'm not growing, how can I expect the team to grow? If I'm not learning new ways to go about business or new ways to lead, how can I grow a team? And I know that the more you develop yourself, the more you will grow your business as well. I'm probably going to butcher how I want to articulate this, but basically, you can work and work and work and work and try to be a millionaire. But the person that becomes a millionaire builds herself into the person that is a millionaire. If I'm making sense, like you have to develop yourself, your personal habits, the way your mindset. You have to develop yourself to become a millionaire.
Absolutely.
Not work yourself into becoming a millionaire.
Absolutely. I used to use this saying when I was coaching or training younger managers when I was in leadership positions in the restaurant industry. It's very common that people walk up to people like yourself, the owner of a company or somebody in a leadership position, and they ask you something like, what do I have to do to get this? What do I have to do to get a raise? What do I have to do to become a manager? What do I have to do to get a promotion? And I used to always respond the same way every time, that I don't want you to think that way. It's not what do I have to do to get this promotion, to get this raise, to get this, opportunity. It's who do I have to become?
Yes, you said it. You said what I was trying to.
There we go. It's who do I have to become in order to be the person that is now going to be qualified to get those opportunities. And what I found too is when you shift your paradigm and you start thinking that way, you normally, not always, but it's very common that those things sort of fall in your lap. What seems like on the outside looking in, it seems like luck.
Yes.
People are like, "Oh, you're so lucky." I'm like, "Well, yeah, there's always a little bit of luck in life, of course. There's good luck and bad luck. But at the end of the day, I was preparing myself to be the person so that when this opportunity presented itself, I was ready.
Yes.
And everyone else knew I was ready too."
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. There's like a law of attraction, or there's a universal law that describes that. Once you become that person, everything comes to you.
Life will give you what you prepare yourself for.
Yeah. Is that a Brian quote?
That's
Brian.
Brianism.
Brianism.
Yeah, I don't think we've used that one before. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think that mindset of just preparing yourself for what you say you want. You know, if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, wake up and think, talk, act, dress,
Yes.
all those different things, right? It's like the whole you are what you eat. There's just a big life lesson in there. And same thing if you want to have a happy marriage or you want to be an amazing dad or a spouse or partner, wake up every day, tell yourself like, I'm going to be an amazing dad today, and I'm going to carry myself like an amazing dad. I'm going to talk like I'm an amazing dad. I'm going to behave like an amazing dad. I'm not going to get emotional, like somebody who's not trying as hard would. So all those different things, what we're saying right now is easier said than done.
Yeah.
It's definitely easier said than done, and there's some self-control and practice and mistakes that get made. Sometimes things get said, whether it's professionally or personally at home, and you go, man, I maybe shouldn't have said that. But you learn along the way. I think the key is in being a successful leader is constantly being able to look in the mirror and knowing that everything stops with you. Like you said, the buck stops with you. You have to accept. I always say, when things go wrong, it's your fault, and when things go well, it's everyone else's. It's everyone else's praise to take except for yours. And that's sort of the gift and the curse of being very successful. Often is, people they want to give you the credit, but the reality is it's your team. If Captiv becomes one of the biggest studios, not when they become the biggest studio in the South or in the US,
in the universe,
people are gonna say, "Oh, Khary, you're so amazing." Well, the reality is Khary didn't do it by himself. Khary did it with Justin, and then you guys have an amazing team here. But people don't think that way. But it works the other way around too. If something really goes wrong, it's your fault, right? It's your responsibility, I should say.
Yeah, yeah. You got to internalize that, and when something does go wrong, because you're giving away your power also. When you start blaming other people, you're giving away your power to actually fix it. Instead, when you say, "Look, this is my fault, I'm going to find a way to fix it." Now you're taking action in solving that problem so it never happens again. So don't give away your power by blaming others on mistakes that might happen.
Yeah. No, that's a great mindset to have. I used to use the saying, "Don't give people bullets to their gun." A lot of people too, especially when your team gets bigger or you have a bigger family or different things, or you're just in different situations in life. Victimism or whatever you want to call it. People like to point fingers. It's always somebody's responsibility. It's never my fault kind of thing. And if you carry yourself like we're talking about, if you carry yourself the right way, you speak the right way, you hold people accountable, but you also hold yourself accountable. It's really, being that way is you're not going to give a lot of bullets to people who have, blame guns, right? Looking to kind of shoot their gun at you. It's like, it's your fault. It's like, well, no, I'm here every day. I'm the first one in. I'm the last one out. Taking care of everything I said I was going to do. I'm helping this guy over here with this, and I'm carrying myself like a leader. I'm one of the team members too. I'm doing my role. So I guess this goes a long way. Speaks very highly.
Yeah.
Of a leader. Well, I think we had some good conversations. The last thing I want to ask is we didn't talk too much about is your family side of things, right? You have a daughter, I believe. Two daughters, I believe. And you are an entrepreneur, which means you're definitely putting a lot of hours in, random hours, early mornings, late night, weekends kind of thing. People don't stop shooting content just because it's 5 o'clock on a Friday. How have you found it challenging, or have you found success in managing that work-life balance where it's very easy as an entrepreneur when the buck stops at you for everything to be pulling your time and you're not in the moment with your kids?
Yeah.
How have you found that work-life balance? Maybe what are some things that you've done, or maybe what are some challenges or failures that you've had? You're like, man, I really learned the lesson along the way.
Yeah, and I always want to talk transparently. So there's definitely times and moments that I haven't been there for my loved ones, my daughters, the way I want. And then you got to just have the realization, how can I fix this problem? You can't just blame it on your business. Oh, I was, yes, you do have to make sacrifices, but you also have to be creative in the ways you show up as well and realize what is important. I have a 10-year-old. I look at her younger photos and I look at her photos now. I'm like, life goes by fast.
Mm.
And so how can I build your company, your business is supposed to give to you. A lot of people think that they're supposed to just give to their business. No, you need to build a business that serves you
Mhm.
and gives you the life that you want to live. Yeah, to sum it up, it gives you the life that you want to live. Because if it's not, what are you building? You're building a job, really.
Yep.
You've probably been better off working corporate
Less stress.
with less stress with vacation and sick days.
Yep.
But yeah, you need to, with that mindset, you need to build your business that can give back to you. And once I made that shift, that's when I really made the shift. You got to be a better leader. You need to train people properly. So you don't always have to be there.
Right.
You can have people that understand the system and the business that they're working within and can execute without you being there. So really making that mindset shift of how can I make this business give back to me and the people that work in it as well, and somewhere where they want to work in. That's when things really started to change, and I was able to show up in a better way.
We were talking about that on the car ride up here, Cody. It's that old saying, do you live to work or work to live? A lot of people spend a lot of time giving 80% of their time to their job so they can live a nice lifestyle. They have the nice car, the nice house, maybe they're wearing designer clothes or whatever. But the reality is, in those situations, is you find that a lot of people actually aren't very happy
Hmm.
because they're giving so much of their time, effort, and energy to the business, which often is, a couple 100 years from now, nobody's going to remember, which sounds terrible. If it doesn't mean you shouldn't be working on something, what really outlives you and what really where your legacy ends up lying is with your family,
Yep.
with your kids. You can build businesses and make money and pass things on to kids or whatever, but at the end of the day, your legacy is your family.
Yeah.
And so for getting that, I think we've all been there. When you and I were in real estate, Cody, getting started, we were just spending so much time, early mornings, late nights, weekends, conferences, and luckily it wasn't something that was, we didn't do it for 20 years and end up missing out on family or anything. But it's really easy to get sucked in
Yeah.
and to give all your time to your business and find that when you do have a little bit of time left, there's not much mental energy or excitement to be with your family, which is, why would you do or start or do anything that is doing the opposite of what it's supposed to be doing?
A person, again, sports related, that I really look up to and like the way they do things, except for running the organization they run, is Jerry Jones. And I say that because Jerry Jones built the Cowboys and he employs all his kids.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think that's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
You get to live life and you get to have the business side and the enjoyment of running a professional sports organization, one of the most well-known sports organizations in the world. And you get to spend time with your kids and making money. Like that's the dream right there. So if I would love to build and create a business that I can work with my daughters and any other future kids I might have.
No, I think it's a great reminder that this concept. I think we've talked about this previously. This concept of work-life balance really doesn't exist. The people that do it most successfully, though, recognize that your business is going to require sacrifice, or sometimes your job, whatever it is, it's going to require that sacrifice and time away from your family. And there's going to be times where you have to commit to that, but you also need to be able to recognize when your family needs that type of commitment from you as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so being able to swing that pendulum back on each side of the fence when it's required is crucial. And that's what, again, the people that do it the most successfully can do that effortlessly, and also recognize when you're with the people that you care about the most is being intentful.
Yeah.
Right. Being there, being present, and not getting distracted by everything else. So Brian, you mentioned the late nights and early mornings we used to spend. Although you have to sometimes do that for your business in order for it to grow, those nights that you missed out tucking the kids in bed, or you missed those a kids event, those are the things that your kids are going to remember. Those are the things your family are going to remember.
Yeah,
and at the end of the day, if you build a successful business or career, what's it matter if you have nobody else to share it with?
Yeah.
And I agree with you, Khary. I think the opportunities to kind of include your family in your business is an amazing opportunity if that works for you and your family. I think it's great. It's a great way to kind of continue that relationship, not just at home, but in life and business. I think it's awesome. So I hope that comes to fruition.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one way to even get ahead of that is just have a plan. I know it doesn't always work this way. Sometimes you'll be in the middle of, your family and your life that you have, and you might like, I want to start a business. But if you're able to really plan out, like maybe you're young and you want to start a business, start it now. Don't wait. So then when it is time to start a family, maybe you have some things in place so you can spend a lot more time with your family. Or maybe you are kind of in the middle of your 9 to 5 and you have the family obligations as well. Have a plan for like, hey, this is how I want to structure my company. This is how I'm going to go about it. So I can still spend that time. And yes, there'll be sacrifices, but if you have a plan, hopefully you could build it. Reverse engineering.
Yep.
See who's done it successfully. I mean, with technology these days, man, you could do a lot.
We haven't even talked about AI, but with crazy, stuff going on right now. But I think it's been an awesome show having you on, Khary. I just want to ask before we wrap up, what's in the future for Captiv? I know you shared a little bit about your vision of world dominance, but what's the next 12 months look like? If any of the audience are listening, how can they get in contact with you and maybe see how you can add value to their business?
Yeah, well, you did mention AI, so this is going to be our AI plug. We're developing a lot of technology, a lot of AI that can integrate with the production process, whether you're in the studio, making it seamless. So when you walk in, you can really voice command a lot of the different things that you want to happen, turning on LED walls, turning on lights, opening doors, just giving a better, cool experience when it comes to content creation. That we've really gone all in on, and just integration, integrating some of the technology and some of the infrastructure that we built out here into other people's spaces. Because we know content isn't going anywhere, but we do see it being put into the hands of like the normal everyday content creator so they can make consistent, high quality content as well. And we want to be able to really help people out with that.
Amazing. So world dominance is a part of the plan, and you need leveraging AI along the way. And
absolutely,
how can any of our audience who may be interested in working with Captiv, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so you can find us on our website, captivcreative.com. There's captivstudios.com if you want to do something in the studio. We have our social media channels, Captiv_creative and Captiv Studios. You can follow me as well. It's Kingly. I forgot my IG handle. I shouldn't.
Okay.
I think it's .Alexi. And then you can find me.
It's been great having you on. We really appreciate you being a guest on the show, Khary, and look forward to doing it again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you being here with us. Stay connected by joining our weekly newsletter called The Forge, delivered straight to your inbox with thoughts on business, work, family, and becoming a better man. Make sure to check out forgingbettermen.com to sign up. If this show hits home for you, then hit the follow button and leave us a review to help us reach more guys who would benefit from it. This is Under Pressure.